Alrighty, here we go. It's time for the Next Man Up Injury Podcast. I am here with my good friend Eric, aka at FF Nighthawk on Twitter, or as I will call him today, El Luchador. If
That's
you're
right.
listening, you don't understand that he is wearing a luchador
Yeah. It is Washington Commanders themed. So anytime that we get on any kind of hot streak, which comes about once a decade, you got to celebrate. So, I'll be sporting the mask until we touch grass and get back to reality.
So what you're telling me is Sam Howell is going to lead y'all to a Super Bowl this year?
The Commanders have Vegas odds. We have odds
Hey,
for
that's something.
for being the last man standing in terms of teams going undefeated into the season. We're last on the chart, but
Hey, but you're
we're
there.
charted. Yeah,
You're there. The chart is there. Well, here we go. I'm Matt at fantasyferret on Twitter. We're being brought to you by Gridiron Ratings, so check them out if you haven't. Some good stuff over there. But let's just start with the big injury news on the week, and that is Nick Chubb's knee exploding. I don't know if you were watching the game, Eric, but I happened to be in the other room when it happened, and then my phone just started blowing up, and so I rewound the TV and was like, "Oh, that's a dislocated knee. That's not good. He's probably not coming back from that." Am I
are
wrong?
you saying as a career
I mean,
injury?
maybe. I mean, if he does, like, he's never going to be Nick Chubb level again. I don't think, but
Yeah, I mean it adds a lot of complexity to his rehab for sure, and he's an older back. He is one of the most pure backs in the league, in terms of just going north south. So I think in terms of the skill set that he would have to reclaim, you know, it, it bodes well. But if anyone was at all worried, and I think the entire Twitter sphere was worried about Javonte Williams, Saquon Barkley, who had a much cleaner injury, then this is one that I think you really need to put at the top of your list in
oh,
terms of
for
your
sure. And
your
it's
worry meter.
already there's already talks that it's going to take 2 surgeries. Like, I think they repaired like his MCL and LCL is what I read, and then they're waiting like a month or 2 before they're going in and repairing his ACL. So, it's
Yeah,
already a multi-step process. He's 27 years old, so he's already getting close to that running back age cliff. I know he was looking great, but that all kind of goes out the window when your knee is no longer facing the way a knee is supposed to face.
yeah. I mean, this unfortunately this put everything into question. I mean, the other injuries that have occurred like this in the past, they were even wondering if this is a case for potential amputation. I mean, your baseline concerns are at the level of like, is the artery okay? Is the nerve okay? Like you're concerned about everything. So,
Yeah.
Nick Chubb being 27, he'll be 28 in December. Like you said, with the 2 surgeries, I mean, that's 2 separate um, rehab timelines that you're going to be having to follow in terms of return to play. You're thinking, you got to be thinking like he's for sure not starting next season, week 1.
No.
Like even if he comes back late next season, you're
If
looking at a 29-year-old Nick Chubb coming back from a multi-ligament tear.
if Nick Chubb comes back week 1 next year and is the Nick Chubb of old, we need to be taking blood samples and figuring out like what Wolverine healing factor he has going on and trying to get that to the masses because
Yeah,
that
I
would
mean
be
he would
exceptional.
be one of Adrian Peterson's kids. That would be the only answer.
But in all seriousness, I do hope Nick Chubb comes back
Yeah.
and makes does something again, but it's not like.
I'm looking at his contract, and you got to think like in this running back market, these contracts are everything. You know, whatever you have already bargained for in terms of safety, but he has a potential out after this year with only 4 million dead cap, and then if they keep him, then he would be a cap hit of almost $16 million for 2024 season, and then he has nothing. He's an unrestricted free agent in his age 30 season after next year. So it's, I think every way, which way you look at it, he's
Yeah.
got an uphill climb.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, they've already pretty much come out and said Jerome Ford, they're going to give him first shot at being the dude, but they did re sign Kareem Hunt. Are you at all interested in either of those?
For sure, Jerome Ford. I mean, I think that folks saw what Jerome Ford did, um, you know, in this Monday night game, and they're super stoked, and they should be because he's got a lot of talent. But he's got 39 NFL carries to his name. I mean, I don't know how you expect that type of player to blow up in a way that probably a lot of people are hoping for. I think he has a probably a solid RB2 ceiling. Um, I think I think if you're fretting about Kareem Hunt, there's been an interesting spin in the Twitter sphere where it's like, you know, he waited until he had the perfect opportunity that fit his skill set, and I find that hard to believe. I think more likely no one wanted him. So
Yeah.
I just mean to say like this backfield ceiling is capped more than people probably hope for. Jerome Ford is not going to be Nick Chubb 2.0
Yeah, no, he won't. But like you said, maybe RB2 going forward. That'd be, I mean, that's fine of a waiver wire pickup or someone that was on your bench for dynasty purposes and now thrust into that starting role.
for sure.
So, I should have looked it up. I'd be interested to see what kind of trades are going down for Jerome Ford right now. But I could see some people giving up at least seconds and maybe first, depending on the crazy manager that's doing it.
I mean, yeah, like if I thought that I was competing this season, then I would for sure send out a second. I think that's an easy choice.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on to really the only guy we know for sure is out right now besides Nick Chubb, and that's Saquon for the Thursday night game. He has an ankle injury. They're saying it wasn't a high ankle. Film's kind of iffy on that, but if it is just a low ankle and he's just, I mean, there's a solid chance this is the only week he misses, which would be pretty good, pretty good news. But in the meantime, are you playing Matt Breda?
No, no,
Okay,
I
good,
think
because I'm not either.
no,
No,
especially
that's
against the 49ers. I think this is just an offense to stay away from.
yeah, they look bad for 1.5 games this year and only look good for a half that they were desperately trying to claw their way back.
Yeah, and truly, I think going back to Saquon, given the fact that they have this early game, that Thursday night game, it means that they're going to have a lot more time to rest and recover. So it sounds like he totally dodged the bullet for his injury, and you know, the next week, week 4, he should be back in action and Saquon of old.
Yep, yep, sounds good. Let's move on to some possible returns this week. First up, and even if he is active, he may not actually be returning. Kenneth Gainwell, who took a back seat last week due to a rib injury, but Swift looked fantastic thrust into that starting role. So this is really a two-parter here on if Kenneth Gainwell will actually be ready to play with this rib injury, or if DeAndre Swift even lets up going forward. Because I mean, he was over what 100 yards, something like he rushed for felt like 10 yards a pop every time he touched the ball last week.
Yeah, and I mean, I think something that should be said is that the Vikings defense is a run funnel defense, and
That's
they're
true.
terrible. They're
Yeah,
garbage.
that is true.
So, I mean, I think when you look at the situation of really potent passing offense with Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goddard, you have to respect it. That offensive line that made Miles Sanders look like a god, and then this run funnel defense from the Vikings. All the stars aligned for DeAndre Swift, but I think you have to play Swift going forward. His ceiling is unmatched.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it sucks for me as a Cowboys fan, but I agree. And then we got a couple hamstrings from the same team here. Aaron Jones, who was a non-participant again today. So we're just kind of taking the wait and see. I'm not playing AJ Dillon. Like,
Yeah,
dude looked terrible. He's thrust into the starting role and looks terrible. Like, no, AJ Dillon ain't a thing.
yeah. I think whenever Aaron Jones is healthy, you start him because of his ceiling that he provides.
Oh yeah, for sure. So keep an eye on that. See if he becomes even a limited participant this week and possibly plays. But I don't like him starting as a non-participant on the week. And then Christian Watson, he's a limited participant. So that's good signs that maybe Christian Watson's back. I know me personally, I'm not going to thrust him out there on my lineup the first week back unless I'm just desperate. But that's a good sign going forward. And if he can make it into maybe the next weeks and looks decent, because I mean, he's probably going to be on a limited snap count coming back, right?
Yeah, and especially with injuries like these, with wide receivers in particular, you have to watch out for that in-game re-aggravation their first week back, and that happens a lot. So, I mean, I'm willing to take the risk because of the ceiling that he gives me. Um, I think that if he's a full participant later in the week, then I'm down. But Matt, I think like what you're saying is entirely true. He's gonna be limited, and there's no telling what you're gonna get.
Right. I mean, we know the upside's there, but like it's just too much of a risk for me personally. Um, let's see. Brandon Cooks. I mean, we don't have to spend too much time about him, but he is a limited participant this week, so maybe comes in to help the Cowboys a little bit. Not like I mean, with that defense, I don't think they're worried too much, but you know. But let's move on to Austin Eckler, who was once again non-participant with that ankle injury. Now, we pretty much, I don't want to say called it, but we definitely read the tea leaves there. Because I know early in the week, a lot of people were like, oh, Eckler will be fine. He'll be fine coming back. But he pretty much told us that he wasn't with that hyping up Josh Kelly that he did. Now, Josh Kelly didn't really do anything this week, but what are you thinking? Does Eckler make a return? Is this sort of
This is weird, man. I have you heard of any details on what the
I
injury is?
I haven't besides ankle.
Yeah, and then they're giving no time, like they're being as vague as possible. It's so
Oh, for
strange.
sure. Like
One thing I'll say is like in terms of Josh Kelly's dud performance last week, it really seems like the offensive coordinator for the Chargers is doing what he's supposed to do, and he's just playing the defense in front of him. So week one, tons of passes to a pass funnel defense. Week two, or I think it was reversed. I'm sorry. Tons of rushes to a rush
yeah.
funnel defense. Week two, tons of passes to a pass funnel Titans defense. Week three, this is another run funnel defense. So for me, this is make or break for Josh Kelly. Like if Josh Kelly shows up this week, I'm not starting him. But if he shows up this week, then he's another viable play. But if he doesn't perform in a week where it should be a run funnel offense from the Chargers, then I'm officially calling him kaput for the season. I'm not, I'm willing to drop him.
That's fair. That's very fair. Plus it's Josh Kelly, so I
It's
mean
a
if you're
potent offense, though. I mean, like you should think that, like the Browns with
it
that
is
quarterback and
it
everything.
is a potent 0-2 offense.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. Fair
who
enough.
knows? Uh I mean it is a potent offense. I just had to throw out some shade to the old Cowboys OC over there. So anyway, Jacoby Myers, limited participant with his concussion. So, like we've always said with concussions, limited participant. Odds are he'll probably play on Sunday. Just keep an eye. Should theoretically be a full participant on Friday. And if he is, he'll be good to go.
Yeah, for sure. With concussions these days, the LP is just their ramp up process.
Yeah.
So, he's on the right track.
Yeah. We'll talk about a couple non-participants later with concussions and how that worries us. But then we have really the last one of possible returns, Kendre Miller, who had a hamstring injury and might be being thrust into the starting role with since Jamal Williams has his own hamstring injury.
They're buddies.
They're buddies, hamstring buddies. Not a good buddy to be.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think that's a risky play. What about you?
I would probably be avoiding him if I could. It would take desperation, but when the other running back that is healthy is Tony Jones, I mean, I guess I would take the shot because Tony Jones ain't nothing special.
Yeah. What? Okay. Alexander Madison or Kendrick Miller.
Well, I mean, Vikings just traded for Cam Akers today.
Yeah, that was a really low price tag.
Yes, it was. I I don't. Can I choose neither? Can I just leave it blank?
Yeah. You're probably in trouble if you're having to choose between the two.
Yeah, I mean, if you're choosing between them, that's not a good position to be with.
Yeah.
I want to say Kendre. My heart says Kendre Miller
Okay.
because, and hear me out. We've seen what is it, year 4 of Alexander Madison being a career backup up until this year when thrust into the starting role and then not producing in the first 2 games. At least with Kendre Miller, we have the unknown factor of what
The
could
mystery
he be.
box.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the mystery box. It could be nothing, or it could be a healthy Kendre Miller that gets 10, 10 rushing yards for and maybe 1 touchdown. So I don't know. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah. That's a tough choice.
All right, let's move on to people that popped up on the injury report this week. These first few, I'm just gonna kind of read through them. They're a bunch of limited participants, so it's almost like veterans just getting rest day, quote unquote, even though they're limited participant to help with ailments. Josh Allen, shoulder. Brees Hall. I bet Brees Hall is going to be a limited participant almost every Wednesday for at least the first half of the year.
Yeah, this team has done a really steadfast job at limiting his workload from the get go. I mean, it's clear they're committing to him.
Even in the Cowboys game, which pissed him off a little bit. Did you see that tweet that he tweeted and then
Yeah.
untweeted? And
Yeah. I think the world saw it, but it makes me feel like I should start him this week against the Patriots because I mean, I think that they're gonna give him the rock. I think
squeaky
he's
wheel gets
squeaky
the.
wheel. Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I'm playing him in DraftKings this week.
I like it. Oh, me too. Actually, I sent one out last night.
So him and Bijan are going to be my 2 running backs on that lineup because I have to find a way to get Bijan on a lineup, even though he's so expensive. Bijan Rob. Anyway, Miles Sanders, limited participant. Tyreek Hill, limited participant. Darnell Mooney. Devin Duvernay, our favorite.
Richmond's favorite.
Richmond's favorite. That's right. CJ Stroud, who's looked pretty good this year.
Yeah, he's doing great, actually.
Honestly, all the rookie quarterbacks are. These first rounders.
Bryce Young has had a tough go.
Yeah, but he still looked. I mean, his team is so bad.
Yeah, I think that's the problem though. Is like Bryce Young is not going to Justin Fields his way to success and just run all over the place, right? Like he needs a supporting cast, and how much of a supporting cast can you give him in one off season?
Right, and to be clear, I don't mean fantasy wise. I just mean in general, he's looked good. CJ Stroud's looked good. Anthony Richardson, who we'll talk about later, has looked honestly pretty good. He's proving me wrong so far.
Me too. Yeah.
Let's see. Josh Reynolds popped up on the report, who he's been doing good this year.
He does this like he's done this literally the last 2 seasons,
Yeah,
and I
he
have him
has.
in one dynasty league. They love using him in that Jameson Williams role when JMO hasn't been available, and then just like last year, I'm super spooked for
But
week 6 when JMO comes back if he's just gonna assume the
but they
role.
didn't. It was weird though last year because they loved using Josh Reynolds in that Jameson Williams role, but then didn't like using Jameson Williams in that Jameson Williams role.
Yeah,
I
I
know there was injury and stuff like that, but it was still weird.
yeah, this season is gonna tell a lot about that offense.
Yeah, as long as they stop betting on games.
Yeah,
Um, Tank Dell, he popped up on the injury report, which he did good on. Went for like 7 catches for 70 yards and a touchdown. Good for you, Tank Dell. And then kind of the actual concerning limited participant that I kind of wanted to talk about. Brandon Ayuk with this shoulder injury. He was limited today. He was a non-participant on Monday, but it looks like they haven't said directly, but it looked like an AC sprain, which can be very difficult for a receiver having to reach up and catch the ball. So, what are your thoughts on Brandon Ayuk? I mean, I'm sure he's going to tough it out and play, but is it almost like more of a decoy situation or
well, honestly, if he's healthy, I'm willing to risk it for the biscuit because that Giants defense is trash right now. And I think Ayuk played a bunch more snaps
he did?
and and he was just missed on some nice deep routes that he ran. So I wouldn't say that, his lackluster second half of the game last week was related to the shoulder. I think even with the shoulder, he could have really popped off. But limited snaps is likely a possibility. I think with the way that he plays as that deep threat, as that red zone threat, like he's got a lot of valuable targets. So it's not like he needs to rack up, 10 targets to really get you the performance that you're looking for. I think, a couple nice catches, a couple good balls, he could pop off. But I'm optimistic. I think they could just give him a cortisone shot.
I
It's
was
kind of, it's just going to be up to him.
I was actually just about to talk about that. How I bet they give a little shot to take away the pain there a
Just a
little
little
bit, and then
juice.
yeah, because I mean, even my team doctor for the school I work at, which is high school, so we're not giving shots to kids, but used to work with a college and said they would do that for the AC sprains. So I can
Yeah,
only imagine the NFL is doing it like
yeah. I'm optimistic. I mean, he might not play, but if he's active, I'm firing him up.
cool. Yeah, no, works for me. Let's move on to our non-participants on starting this Wednesday practices. We got Logan Thomas, who is now in concussion protocol, which he caught the touchdown though. But
Yeah, he's a
and
beast.
I saw something, and I believe I'm correct here. Supposedly, the guy that took him out of the game, Logan Thomas, that delivered that hit, was the guy that hit Jacoby Myers last week.
Oh, really?
That's what I believe I saw somewhere because they were talking about how if the NFL does not come down on this, because he launched himself, like it was almost identical, where he just launched himself like into the head of the
Mm,
offense. And I was listening to the radio and they were talking about how they really need to come down on him. So,
yeah.
um, couple other concussions. Anthony Richardson, who apparently got it on that touchdown run, and Jalen Waddle, which I don't necessarily know when Jalen Waddle got his.
He caught a ball and he just had a weird like smack, I think, to the back of his helmet. Um, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little more pessimistic on Waddle and Anthony Richardson.
I am too, because as we've talked about, they're non-participants on Wednesday,
Yeah.
and I believe they both play Sunday. They're not a Monday game, right?
No, no. I'll triple check it, but I don't think so.
Yeah. So I mean, as we've said with the Sunday games, we have ever since the Tua incident last year, we have yet to see a non-participant on Wednesdays play in that Sunday game.
Yep.
Now, if they're a Monday night game, that's a little different because you get that extra day. Maybe they're a limited participant on Thursday. But so I mean, as of right now, I'm under the belief that neither of them play this week. Almost knocked over
Yeah.
my cup.
Waddle's on my bench in one league. I'm just assuming he's not going to play. And one thing, Matt, I just looked at while I was peeking on the schedule is the Giants play week 4 on Monday night. So really,
Oh,
Saquon's
so
going to
Saquon
have
gets an extra.
massive amount of time. He's for sure playing
Oh,
Sunday night, and
yeah,
it's
no,
against the Seahawks, I think.
yeah, no, I agree. I bet Saquon's back for that game.
Yeah,
I mean, that's like you already get 11 days, right? So he's gonna get 12,
yeah,
or it's maybe 10 and 11. Anyway, he's getting an extra day.
a lot of days.
A lot of days for an ankle to heal. Moving on, DK Metcalf popped up with this rib injury. Now it happened early in the game, and he still played through it. So I imagine he
I
can.
think he plays.
I think he does too. But sometimes ribs are weird, where you have that
Yeah,
adrenaline going during the game. It's like, oh, it's fine, I can play through it. And then next day you wake up and you're just like, I can't move.
yeah.
Like,
See, I mean, but that's the problem with these ribs is it's the kind of thing that like he's probably going to play, and but it's the kind of thing that if you get hit
you're, oh, it just,
again, then you could be taken
it
out
does.
on the
And they're
first
gonna,
snap.
like, the other team's gonna know too.
Yeah,
So it's not like you're deliberately trying to hit him in the ribs, but oh,
yeah.
maybe I'm trying to hit him in the ribs here. Like,
Yeah, and I think the good news with DK is just because he was hit from behind in the ribs, like in the back, like your first concern was kidney.
yeah,
And I mean, maybe he does have some bruising that hasn't been released yet. Um, but I think just given what we know, it's the kind of thing he'll probably play. What we've seen in the historical data is they may miss a week, but
yeah,
that's it, and then they're normal afterwards.
right,
So probably plays, but he might miss a week.
right. And then he'll be good. As long
Yeah.
as he doesn't have that team doctor that gave Tyrod Taylor the shot.
Yeah.
uh, Pacheco popped up with a hamstring. Now this was unusual because I don't remember him leaving the game with a hamstring injury. So could this just be like throughout this early part of the week, kind of just dealing with some hamstring tightness, and they're just being precautionary with it?
Probably. I mean, this has been a weird season, I feel like, with really dramatic injuries early on and then just tons of soft tissue injuries in the off
Yeah,
season and now like in the early weeks. So it's really tough to say. I mean, I think what is probable is that he missed a lot of training camp with that shoulder rehab.
yeah,
And it's just a really tough thing to do to every 7 days or so play an NFL game. So it sounds like he's he's peaked. He needs rest. I think he'll probably play. He only plays like 50% of the snaps anyway
yeah.
right now. So
Well, and are you really playing him anyway?
I think he's a good buy low, but if he was on my team, I would for sure not be looking to start him up next week.
Yeah, like it's a honestly, Kansas City offense is so weird because Patty Mahomes, like 350 yards a game, probably 3 touchdowns. And who else do you want besides Travis Kelsey?
Yeah, no, this really reminds me of like Tom Brady's
Yeah,
Patriots when they had nobodies, and then occasionally they would get one stud receiver or they would have the stud tight end,
yeah.
and like the ball will be distributed, and so you can't count on one
It's like
dude.
10 different people catching the ball, and it's just like you can't
Yeah,
can't rely on any of them.
yeah.
Another soft tissue, Amari Cooper, which was a weird one, popped up on Saturday. Lots of questions on if he would play Monday, which he
He
did
did
and
great. Yeah.
looked good. So I mean, with him doing that, I think he plays this week. Like that would be kind of weird playing on 2 days after your injury, looking fine, and then not playing the next week. So I think he plays. I think this was more he's a veteran and we can give him the day off. He doesn't need to be out there really.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So uh Odell popped up, speaking of veterans, with an ankle injury, non participant today. Supposedly wasn't that serious, but something to keep an eye on, I guess, going forward. I don't know.
Yeah, he lost a lot of snaps in that last game. I think he
Yeah.
went from like 90 plus snap percentage to in the 50s.
Yeah,
So
because he hurt his ankle.
yeah, and I think what it this is really actually meaningful for that offense because he's been their deeper
Hmm.
threat guy, and we saw that script flip last week with Zay Flowers getting the deep pass as opposed to like his week one performance where I think he had like a two something a dot. So if Odell Beckham is out, I think Zay gets more valuable targets. Um, but OBJ, like, it seems to be a low grade ankle thing. He might play.
Yeah, tape it up. Tape it up. You'll be fine. Get out there. Dawson Knox, back injury. I think he caught 2 touchdowns this past week. To
Did
the
he?
I think so. He at least caught one. To the dismay of Dalton Kincaid owners everywhere. But if he ends up not playing, that could be really good for Dalton Kincaid. Because right now
Yeah,
they're definitely using both tight ends, so it's hard to use either of them.
Dawson Knox, 5 targets, 10 yards, touchdown.
Hey,
That's tough.
that'll
I don't know.
that'll that'll
Honestly,
make you be a top 12 tight end on a week.
yeah, honestly, dude, I'm a little sketch from the Bills offense this week. They're playing my Commanders. Our defense is crushing it right now. I
Yeah,
mean, we let up a ton of points against Denver. A lot of that is our offensive struggles, but our defense just looks nice. So unless it's Stephon Diggs, I'm really skeptical
yeah,
on
that's
who to count
another
on.
offense. Like they're such a good offense, but you don't really play anyone except Josh Allen and well, I guess James Cook now. He had a good game.
James Cook is showing out this year, but he's one that I'm really skeptical on with this
I am too.
Washington defense.
And Latavius Murray's getting work at the goal line. Like,
Damien Harris, yeah, they got a rotation that's happening.
yeah, I think James Cook, he can have his weeks, but it's just real sketchy on.
I could definitely see Josh Allen getting a lot more rushing yards this game because he's going to be moved out of the pocket.
Yeah.
So Josh Allen, rushing props, that would be something I'd be interested in.
Did I just hear Commanders defense on DFS?
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't count on him that much.
I mean, Josh Allen's a turnover machine.
Always has been.
If he played for the Cowboys, let me tell you,
Same thing,
be
different
getting
week.
he'd be getting wrecked by the media. Let's see. We talked about Jamal Williams already. David Montgomery with this quad injury.
That's a weird
Uh,
one.
it really is like they haven't said much about it. I mean, it's got to be a strain, right? Quad strain.
I don't know.
Like nothing else really makes sense though.
It's hard to say because quad, like sometimes it comes out later that they really meant patella, like the
Right.
toe tendon, like hip flexor.
It was
It's
definitely
hard
when
to
they were
say.
carting him off, it was his knee that was being iced.
Okay,
So
so maybe a patellar thing.
maybe like a patellar tendon, maybe like a quad tendon, more down.
Yeah, I mean we see that a lot, and they need like 2 weeks off, and then they're back
Yeah,
in action.
yeah. So that's kind of what I'm going with now. I'm blanking on the dude's name that actually came in for him because it wasn't like Gibbs just got a whole lot more work.
Craig Reynolds.
That sounds about right. Sure, that's a name.
You know what I would think actually? Sneaky play, Zonovan Knight.
Yeah,
You remember him from the Jets?
yeah. He did pretty good
They put him on
for a
the
few weeks.
practice squad, and then they elevated him this week from the
Mm,
practice squad. So he's going to be active this game, and he runs that type of role.
maybe. I'm not playing Zona Midnight though.
Please don't do that.
Yeah, I do not recommend.
He's the dude like on DraftKings. If you just have no cash and you got to fill your flex, Zonovan.
You're like, I got 4,000 left over. Who do I play? Oh, that's right, Zonovan Knight. Maybe I
I recognize that name.
That name was a thing for a little bit last year.
Yeah,
So, and then his another Lion, Amon-Ra St. Brown. They're saying he is day to day, but looked like turf toe,
yeah. I think they put
which
a metal plate in his shoe,
I do
or
not like for a receiver.
yeah. I mean, Terry McLaurin can be sort of our blueprint here.
Yeah, but Terry McLaurin also did it early in the preseason and then had a few weeks rest, and I'm not
That's
sure
true.
Amon-Ra is going to get that few weeks of rest.
Well, that's true. I mean, Justin Jefferson, he had a mild turf toe. I don't know. It can be so variable. If they're calling him day to day, I'm hoping for mild turf toe. And
I mean, like here's the deal. I bet he plays, and he. I mean, they're going to give him the ball. They're going to pass it to him, but it's just I worry.
he hasn't already. I'll say this. I'll agree with you in this sense. Already, he hasn't been the stud that I think a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
have been hoping for this season. And I think it's really just like his usage.
I think it's
You
just
know,
expectations. I mean, he is what he is, though. Like
they
he's
are
not
who we thought they are.
right.
Yeah.
He's not the Justin Jefferson type of receiver that goes downfield and makes a bunch of plays. He's the over the middle
The
short
possession guy,
routes
the PPR
PPR
god.
machine
Yeah.
that occasionally makes a great play, but like gets 8 catches for 90 yards and a tutty. Like that's who
Okay,
he
let me
is.
ask you this. So with ASRB injured, Demont injured, who gets more touches? Like who gets the bump?
I would really like to think Gibbs does because if you look last week, Gibbs got 10 targets, and a lot of those came after Amon-Ra's injury, after David Montgomery's. I mean, David Montgomery wasn't really playing the passing down role anyway, but Gibbs seemed to get a bump up in targets, but not so much in rushes.
Yeah, I would think even with the injury report, it might be Josh Reynolds. They just trust him so much.
They do trust him.
Sam
But I
Laporta,
just I
maybe.
don't know if his role in the offense dictates that. Like we've already
Yeah,
talked about, he has that Jameson Williams type role,
deeper threat. All
deeper
right.
route, can catch a touchdown or two in a
It just
game,
seems
but
like they're being reserved with Gibbs for some reason.
could it be
And
Laporta?
I think it's Laporta. That's probably
That's probably the
the
answer.
best bet. Yeah.
Sam Laporta. Rookie breaking that rookie tight end mold.
He's crushing it.
He's been good. Uh let's move on. I mean, I could talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown all day, but you know what? I wonder how the guy that cussed me out on Twitter and said that I should snap accept any second round rookie pick for Amon-Ra after his first year. Like this was after his rookie season. I wonder how he's doing. Hope he's
he's
doing well.
probably he's probably living in a cardboard box
He's
because
probably he's
he
probably
lost all his
drafting
cash.
he's probably drafting Caleb Williams next year.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, I wish him the best. Anyway, Joe Burrow's calf, the
Not
calf
good.
injury that won't quit. So, I don't know. This one's weird because he got the calf injury early in camp. You know, rest him, sit him through training camp, which second year in a row he's missing training camp. But anyway, and then plays both games, but Bengals looked awful. Now, can any of that blame be on the calf, or is there just bigger problems here?
I want to say the calf, right? I mean, they got everything going for them, and Jamar Chase is a total dud so far. Joe Mixon dud. I don't know. You the only thing that's an anomaly is the calf, and you see Joe Burrow with a little giddy up in his step going back to the sideline after those 3 and outs. I think they're in trouble. I just heard on the Twitterverse that they were trying to trade for one of the 49ers backups. I think Brandon Allen.
Oh,
Um, I think they have elevated concern.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, honestly, it's almost like they would have been. I mean, obviously hindsight's 2020, but they would have been better off resting Joe Burrow these past 2 weeks than playing him. Like,
What if they, okay, alternate universe, they're the smartest GMs in the nation, and they trade for Trey Lance?
that would be interesting since Trey Lance has already been traded.
I'm saying prior, like back in
Oh, prior,
August,
prior, prior. I
when they
got you.
knew
I got
about
you.
the injury, and
Sure,
they're
sure, sure.
like, all right, we got to get something cooking. Trey Lance, I mean, he could have cooked in this offense, I think.
I mean, I'm out on Trey Lance, so I don't know.
He's
Trey,
on your team.
shh, and I hope he never plays.
You can literally buy a Cowboys jersey with Trey Lance on
I don't want to.
it.
That just feels wrong.
Yeah, that's dirty.
It just feels dirty and not fun. If Trey Lance starts playing for the Cowboys, something's gone very wrong this year.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't root for that.
Anyway, time for the Oh No line wrap up. So we got some
That was good.
I tried. I tried.
Okay.
We got some lines here that are in disarray. Browns aren't looking too good. Um, I mean, a lot of their woes maybe are to the O line injuries. Bears, Bears just mm-mm, mm-mm. And Giants. Those are kind of the three concerns. So I'm going to actually ask you to rank these O lines of level of concern. So obviously they all concern us, but which one concerns you the most between the Browns, Bears, and Giants and their injuries to their O lines?
I think in terms of fantasy production, it's got to be the Bears. They
Yeah.
just lost their left tackle, possibly season ending, and with their left tackle healthy, Justin Fields is still leading. I think in historical data, like since the 70s, I think that's what I saw. He has a massive sack rate. Is the point for a
Well,
quarterback?
it's also, I mean, bringing up Justin Fields, it's weird how they're using him this year.
We're not
Like,
using him.
yeah, or not using him because, like, his design runs have just plummeted. Like,
Yeah,
I
him and
understand.
Justin, or him and Josh Allen are the same in that
Yeah.
regard.
Yeah, but it's like I understand wanting to make him more of a pocket passer and mold that because, I mean, obviously you have to be able to do that, but don't take away this giant aspect that helps you win games to do so.
You know what this really is reminiscent of to me is as a Commanders fan of RG3 in his
Yeah.
career, because he went from stud year one, year two, like crushing dudes with some just nice deep passes. You know, he was moving the offense, but really it was with his legs. And then Kyle Shanahan, or Mike Shanahan, the senior, comes in and he's
Yeah,
our
one of
head
them.
coach, and he asks RG to be a pocket passer. And RG, I used to go to all the games. RG3 literally was like so unsure. Should I pass? Should I run?
Yeah.
When I run, they were trying to fix how he slides so that he could protect himself. And one time, like I think I saw it was against the Lions. I forget what year, maybe '08, and he dove head first and midair just lets go of the ball, and it was a fumble. And
Oh
it
my
was because he
gosh.
was so confused. That just wasn't his how he plays. Um,
Yeah.
so
It's
anyway,
so
it
it's
makes
so
it
weird
feels like that.
times that like NFL coaches seem to be so dead set on this is how we play the game and no matter who we have, this is what we do rather than like actually trying to utilize their players in the best way possible.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think that's what Bill Belichick has always done well. Is
Right.
he just finds these Moneyball athletes and just says, "Okay, you're good at this. Let's do that." And
Yeah.
like, it's not to say they're great fantasy producers necessarily, but the offensives have won.
Yeah. Like I feel for instance, I feel like Andy Reid kind of does that and that's why
Yeah,
the Kansas City offense is so frustrating to us, but it's like Nope, Valdez Scantling, you're going deep, and if he's there, Pat Mahomes going to hit him, and Travis Kelsey's doing those intermediate routes. Everyone else, we're just using how we can use
Yeah,
them.
yeah, it seems obvious, but I guess it's not.
I guess it's not. It's just weird because I mean, like college teams do it though, where and I mean, I know not every college team is super successful or not, but like it just seems like those coaches are better at molding their offenses around the talent level they have and what works best for them.
Well, I mean, honestly, to that point, that's really weird because Justin Fields was a great passer in college.
Well, yeah, there is that part to it, but
Like,
it does
so I don't
help
know
when
what
you're
happened.
passing to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave.
That's
Um,
true.
I think
JSN.
JSN, Marvin Harrison may not have been there yet,
Yeah,
but you're passing to them,
that's true.
and then you have one of the top O lines in college and one of the top defenses in college, so that can mask a lot of
Fair enough.
issues.
Yeah.
Which is also why for years we never saw Alabama QBs actually enter the NFL and do anything. Like Alabama was always the top team in the like nation, but their QBs weren't. I know that's been busted a little bit lately with
Yeah.
them having like 3 or 4 QBs, but like I mean up until like 2017, 2018, they didn't have any QBs in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. That offensive line really is frustrating. I think it's just going to make that offense even worse. The Browns would be my next one because Deshaun Watson has looked like garbage. And
Yeah,
if you watch the game, like he was under duress the whole
he
time,
was.
and without Nick Chubb, I mean Jerome Ford, he can hold his own, it seems, but it just puts a lot more pressure on Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, it does, and it does not seem like he's dealing with that pressure very well now.
No, no, and then to that point, like I think Daniel Jones has a better capacity to deal with that
Yeah,
pressure. I mean, not tomorrow. He's going to get destroyed against the 49ers, but
yeah. I mean, what?
he can move.
Yeah, the odds of Giants beating the Niners is not great.
The Rams look good though, and I didn't think that would be close.
The Rams are such a weird team so far this year, where they said, "See ya, Cam Akers." Cooper Cup is injured, and yet they're just like, you know what? We're actually a good team.
Yeah,
So
I'm surprised that they're not doing a hard rebuild.
yeah, but I mean that's not really McVay's style. He don't want to rebuild. He's in that I push all the chips in. We're going for it every year type of.
So, by the way, you know what's funny? This is total tangent, but
Sure.
I just got text. Um, I just got text from my landlord
Oh,
that I got a package for me, and that they brought it to the front desk, or they brought it to my front door, and saw that I was wearing this luchador mask and just left it there. They were like, "We don't know what's happening."
they're like, we need to talk about. We need to talk
Yeah,
to you. Like, we're rescinding your lease. Like,
yeah, yeah. I'm
we're
homeless now. I'm gonna go live with that cardboard box guy.
you're like, hope at least hopefully it's a big box because
Yeah,
I
yeah, exactly.
that's my home now.
Yep.
Oh goodness. Okay. Well, that pretty much does it for all the injuries, at least that I saw. Is there anything else we need to mention?
Um, I do. This is also off topic, but I do have a trade question for you.
Oh, sure.
Okay, so Dynasty PPR tight end premium,
Okay.
and the question is like pick a side:
Okay.
Kyle Pitts and two threes, or Pittman. Oop, I'm gonna take off the mask. Oh, I'm gonna leave it on. I guess she's coming. Or Pittman, a one, and Aaron Jones.
Probably take the Pittman one and Aaron Jones at this point in time.
I know it feels like you should never sell Kyle Pitts.
Right. But I think you're good to sell Kyle Pitts if you're getting something like that. You're getting
Yeah,
you're getting a win now running back, a first, which, obviously who knows where the first ends up, but always good to have first round picks. and a young stud wide receiver. No, he's got a rookie QB, but Michael Pittman's been good this year. So
Pittman is good. I had some questions on him, but it's pretty clear that he's the alpha on that offense.
yeah, for sure. So that's where I lean because the threes don't do anything for me.
Yeah.
Like third and fourth round picks are always throw-ins for me. Like I don't really care. Like I always when I'm in negotiations and we're almost to the end, that's something I always try to. Hey, can you throw in a third? Or if I'm like, hey, I'll throw in a third. Like
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same. The thirds could be a Puka, or it could be somebody totally irrelevant and who's just
yeah,
stuck on your
any
tax
of
sheet.
the other hundreds of
Yeah,
third round picks that don't end
yeah,
up being anything.
yeah. I mean, it's really just about Pitts, but I
So
feel the same. It's just my head is like, dude, you can't bail
right.
on
It
Pitts.
just seems so weird to do. And as soon as you make that trade, Kyle Pitts is going for like 812 and 2 touchdowns on a week.
Well,
Like
but that honestly, that's the thing is, I'm looking at the outlook, and he's only 22, so like it's gonna be fine. But
honestly.
with this offense, like they're not going to be bad enough to get a great quarterback next year.
Yeah.
And you're pretty much waiting for them to overhaul new head coach. That's going to take time. And new quarterback. That's going to take time.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you're just holding the bag on Pitts for a few more years. It seems like
You really are. There's worse bags to hold though.
it's a shiny bag.
Yeah. It is a shiny bag. Could be anything. Could even be Kyle Pitts. Well, I think that just about does it. I think
Okay, wait a minute. So now the landlord, she says, she goes, cool mask? Question mark? Question mark? Yeah, I'm homeless.
she's like, we need to talk.
Yeah,
Your
totally.
money's no good here anymore.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
All right, that wraps it up.
Well, Eric, where can people find you when you're not on in your cardboard box that you now live in?
Yep, I am the fantasy football Nighthawk. You can find me on Twitter at ff_Nighthawk.
And I am at Fantasy Ferret on Twitter, where I keep it strictly fantasy football related information. So thank you for tuning in. Have a good one, peoples.